Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Always fun to do these.
Yeah, so today we're going to be looking at
Okay.
dystopian fiction,
Right.
The Handmaid's Tale, and 1984.
World classics.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting how, those books always seem to kind of surge in popularity
Right. Yeah.
whenever there's some
Like when things get a little,
political tension.
a little crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like readers are trying to figure out
Find some answers.
like, what's going on through
Totally through
fiction.
fiction.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's,
like looking for a framework.
a framework or even a warning almost.
It's definitely a warning.
Like, can we learn from this?
Right.
Yeah.
Are we headed down
Are we repeating history?
this path? Are we repeating these mistakes?
Yeah.
And it makes you think about those parallels between like the fictional dystopias
Right.
and the real world totalitarian
Systems.
and, both Atwood and Orwell, even though they were writing fiction,
Right.
they were looking
But
at
we're drawing from reality.
real regimes. They were
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
drawing from history.
Yeah, it wasn't just out of thin air.
Right.
And it's interesting because, like, whether you're talking about
Yeah.
communist regime or a fascist regime,
Or even a theocracy,
or even the theocracy in The Handmaid's Tale,
which is really interesting.
Yeah.
The way they play with that. It's like we're like
regardless of what the ideology is.
Yeah, they have these-
It all has
these-
common threads.
a real intense desire for control. Control. Yeah, like over every single, every little aspect of life,
Yeah, it is.
from the media
Oh, yeah.
to personal relationship.
Conversation.
And
Even thought.
wow, it's like they want to control
Yeah, like the fabric of
fabric of
human existence. Yeah.
It's
How do they do it, though?
yeah, how do they even achieve that?
How do they get that kind of control?
Yeah.
Well, one thing they all seem to do is use
What is it?
fear,
Fear.
propaganda, and surveillance.
Oh yeah.
It's like they create an atmosphere where you can't even think about disagreeing,
Right.
and any kind of individual liberties are just crushed.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for absolute power,
Yeah.
which is not good.
Not a good thing.
No.
So let's get into The Handmaid's Tale
Okay.
and see how some of this plays out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always found so disturbing about Gilead is
Yeah.
how they
They take religion
twist religion
and use it
to justify
to justify this patriarchal system.
patriarchal system.
Yeah.
It's not just about, banning abortion. It's about completely like redefining what a woman is.
Yeah. Reading
Like what her place is.
what a woman is.
Yeah, and they use
Like a Bible,
to do that.
that Bible.
Yeah, like they'll take
They take verses out of context
yeah.
to try to,
To justify
like, I remember that whole thing about
oh yeah. And it's
forced childbirth and like Genesis.
Genesis 38.8.
Yeah.
Where Onan is punished for spilling his seed on the ground.
Right. But that's
Total taken out of context.
totally out of context. That has nothing to do with abortion.
Nothing to do with,
But they use it.
they use it to justify
Yeah.
their
It's scary how they can just pick and choose what they want
Yeah, it's very,
and make it fit their agenda.
yeah, like a chilling example
It is.
of how
People in power
it can just
twist things
to fit their agenda.
Yeah.
It's
scary.
It's really scary.
And it's important to remember that Atwood
Right.
makes a very clear distinction
Yeah, it does.
between those who genuinely believe.
Who genuinely believe and those who are exploiting faith
Right.
for
Fine.
control.
It's not an attack on religion.
Right.
It's an attack on
It's an attack on
people who use it for power.
exploitation of religion
Yeah.
for power.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there are characters in the book who are like devoutly religious but would never
I would never condone
condone what's happening
what Gilead's doing.
in Gilead.
No.
Yeah, and it's really
It shows you the danger of mixing
it's a cautionary tale.
religious extremism with political power.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
be careful about
Be careful
letting those two things get
letting that happen.
too intertwined.
Yeah.
And it's not
just about religion.
right.
It's about
That's so much more.
taking away women's rights
Yeah.
systematically.
And the book really dives into that complexity.
Yeah.
Especially with the wives.
Oh, the wives.
Listen,
They have this.
they're so interesting.
Weird.
They're complicated. Position
They are.
where they have some
They have some power,
level of power.
but they're also victims.
But they're also victims of the system.
It's so strange
Hish.
how that works.
Yeah.
Like they benefit from the other women being subjugated,
Right.
but they don't have any freedom either.
Yeah.
It's like
It's such
they're stuck.
contradiction. Like Serena Joy.
Oh, yeah.
She's like
She helped build this system,
complicit in
building this whole thing.
Yeah, she was like
But then she
bring back traditional values.
can't escape the consequences.
But then she gets punished
Yeah.
for wanting women to be able to read.
Yeah, that scene where she gets punished for, like,
It's so powerful.
just advocating for women to be literate.
Like, wow, the system,
It's so powerful.
it doesn't care.
Yeah, and it shows how Gilead
Yeah.
uses fear and violence
Uses fear
to control
to maintain control.
even those who think, even the people who think
They're on the right side.
they're in charge.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's safe.
It's like no one is safe.
No,
It makes you wonder about like the psychology
it does.
of living under that kind of
What does that do to you?
threat all the time.
To live with that fear
Yeah.
all the time.
And that actually leads us
It does.
perfectly into 1984.
It does, because while The Handmaid's Tale uses religious extremism,
Right.
1984 uses technology
Technology, yeah.
for control.
Yeah, it's like Big Brother.
Big Brother is watching you.
is always watching,
Yeah.
which is like even more relevant today
It is.
with social media
With all the data collected.
and all the data collection.
Yeah.
Like, are we on the path to
It's a good question.
Orwellian dystopia?
Are we?
It's kind of scary to think about.
It's a little scary.
But I think it's important to remember that these are
These are warnings,
cautionary tales,
not predictions.
not predictions.
I feel like,
Right.
yeah.
But they do offer.
But they do show us
Yeah.
how power works.
Yeah.
And how technology can be used for good or bad.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not technology itself.
Right.
It's how
It's how we use it.
we use it.
Exactly.
And another theme that I found really interesting in 1984 is this whole idea of like
oh, yeah.
manipulating language
The Ministry of Truth.
and destroying history.
Yeah, rewriting history
It's like the Ministry of Truth,
to fit their agenda.
where they're constantly
Rewrite-
rewriting history to fit
Yeah.
the agenda.
It's chilling.
It's terrifying.
It is erasing,
Erasing facts,
Oh, listen,
making
it's not-
stuff up,
fabricating events.
changing language to control how people think.
It's mind control.
It is.
It's like-
it's scary.
And that whole concept of doublethink,
Oh yeah, double think. It's
holding two opposite ideas in your head at the same time.
like that's so relevant today. It's like we're bombarded with
All this contradictory information.
contradictory information
All the time.
all the time, and it's hard to know
Especially with politics.
what to believe.
Yeah, you don't know what to believe.
It's
But
like
that's the danger
it's exhausting
when you
for-
don't know what's true.
Yeah, and
It's easy to
it's
manipulate people.
dangerous.
Yeah.
because it erodes our ability to even
To think for ourselves.
think critically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think 1984 is really warning us
About the importance of truth
the importance of truth
and fighting for it.
and challenging those who
Yeah, don't let them control the narrative.
try to control the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've talked about these
Yeah.
pretty bleak
Pretty bleak.
pictures of
Pictures of totalitarian regimes.
Yeah, but is there any
But is there any hope?
glimmer of hope?
Is there anything
Yeah, is there anything
we can learn from this that
that can give us some hope? Give us some hope.
You know what? There is.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to talk about in the next part.
Okay, so stay tuned.
We're going to dive into resistance.
We'll be right back.
So we left off talking about hope.
Yeah. Is there hope?
Yeah. Is there any hope?
Do we find hope in these
And these,
bleak dystopias?
yeah, because it's easy to just feel overwhelmed
Oh, yeah.
by these systems.
Well, like, what are you going to do?
But both of these books
Okay.
actually give us some pretty
Okay.
good examples
Yeah.
of how people can resist.
That's what I love about these books is that even though they're so
Right.
oppressive and scary,
They're dark.
there's still these
There's always this
little flickers of defiance.
yeah, these little moments where the characters are like, no,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
give in.
let you completely take over.
And those moments are so important
Yeah.
because they show us that resistance is possible
Yeah.
and that even small acts of resistance
Right.
can make a difference.
Like chipping away at the
Yeah, they chip away at the foundation of these regimes.
And it makes you think about like in The Handmaid's Tale,
hmm
the May Day movement.
Oh, yeah, Mayday.
That's like a classic example.
They're working in the shadows.
Yeah. They're like underground,
To bring the whole thing down.
trying to undermine Gilead
Yeah.
from within.
It's like even in these super controlled societies,
Yeah.
there's always a way.
Yeah, there are cracks.
There's cracks
Yeah, and resistance
where
where
hope can,
grow.
yeah, and where change can start.
It makes you think about like the power
Yeah.
of the human spirit to just
Yeah, like that desire for freedom,
not give up.
it never goes away.
Yeah, and that resistance doesn't always have to be
Right there.
these grand
It doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
gestures.
Sometimes it's the little things.
Yeah. What are some examples? Sorry.
that make a difference?
Like the little everyday things.
Well, The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Think about when they share their real names
Oh, yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
It seems small,
It does.
but it's huge.
Yeah, because it's like they're being stripped.
Because they're not allowed to have
Their identity.
their own identity.
And they're finding a way to
So they find these little ways
hold on to that.
to hold on.
Yeah.
It's like reclaiming your power.
It's like a tiny act
There's a
of
world where you have no power.
rebellion,
Yeah.
but it's so powerful.
It's so powerful.
And then in 1984, you see
Mhm.
this idea of resistance
Yeah.
through Winston.
Through Winston
And it's
his
a journey.
even though he fails
Yeah.
in the end,
He eventually succumbs
he tries so hard.
to Big Brother.
And that's what matters.
Yeah. His initial
Yeah, it's-
rebellion.
That desire for truth.
That fight.
Yeah,
It's so inspiring.
it is.
And it shows how important
It shows you how important it is to think for yourself,
it is.
to question things.
Yeah. To not just accept.
Even when it's scary.
Yeah.
You're told.
And it's a warning
Yeah.
about what happens if we don't.
Yeah, if we just become complacent.
If we just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah, it's like Orwell
He's like, wake up.
shaking us.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
And saying like, wake up.
Fight back
Yeah. Fight back.
while you still can.
While you still can. And both authors
And their own way.
talk about this idea of like withdrawing support.
Yes,
as
withdrawing support from the system.
these oppressive systems.
That's how you resist.
What does that even look like?
Well-
Like, how do you do that?
It can look like a lot of different things.
Okay.
It could be protesting peacefully.
Okay.
It can be civil disobedience,
Okay.
like refusing to follow their rules.
Okay.
It could be refusing to participate
Okay.
in the things that give them power.
So, like, in The Handmaid's Tale, it would be
Right.
like the handmaids refusing to
Refusing to do the ceremonies.
participate in the ceremonies.
Yeah, or finding ways to mess with the system
Yeah.
from the inside.
Sabotage it.
Yeah. And in 1984,
Yeah.
it's Winston holding on to his memories,
Yeah.
refusing to let them rewrite his past.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that when we
Go along with things.
just accept it,
Yeah.
we give them power.
Yeah.
So even small acts of defiance
Yeah.
can start to take that power away.
Yeah. It's like understanding that we have a choice.
Exactly.
Even in those situations,
You always have a choice,
we have
even if it's a small one.
agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. And both books also talk about the importance of
Yes.
human connection.
Human connection is so important
And solidarity.
because it gives you strength.
Yeah. Like in The Handmaid's Tale, it's the May Day movement.
Mm-hmm.
They're all connected in secret.
They have these secret meetings.
Yeah. They're sharing.
They share information,
They support each other.
hope, and it's all happening
Happening under the surface.
underneath
Yeah.
the surface.
Like little whispers of rebellion.
Yeah, and in 1984, even though
Right.
Winston is ultimately
Betrayed.
betrayed by Julia,
Yeah.
that time that they had together,
Yeah.
it gave him
Yeah,
something to fight for.
The strength to resist.
Yeah, even if it was just for a little while,
Yeah.
it shows you that we're not meant to be alone.
Right.
We need each other.
Yeah. We're stronger together.
We're stronger together.
And that connection isn't just about
It's not just about feeling good.
feeling better.
It's about
Yeah.
power,
Yeah.
collective power.
So are you saying that like organized movements
Yeah,
are necessary?
I think so.
to really
Think about all the movements
dismantle.
that
Yeah.
have succeeded.
Real
The
solid.
civil rights movement, the
Yeah.
fight for women's suffrage,
Yeah.
those were all about people coming together
Right.
to demand change.
And we can't do it
We
alone.
can't do it alone. We need each other.
You need other people.
Yeah. So what are some things that we can do
Okay. So if you want to resist
in our own lives?
oppression,
Yeah, to like fight back.
first of all,
Yeah.
you got to stay informed.
Stay informed.
Yeah. Like don't just believe everything you hear,
Especially today.
especially today.
With the internet.
Yeah. There's so much misinformation.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
So fact checking,
Fact checking.
researching sources,
Research your sources.
being aware of our own biases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't just consume information.
Okay.
Think about it.
So it's not just about
Question it.
taking in information.
Don't just accept it.
It's about
Challenge it.
thinking about it
Be willing to change your mind
critically.
if you see evidence that proves you wrong.
Yeah.
That's what it means to be an engaged citizen.
And what about like speaking out
That's a big one.
against injustice, even when
Even when it's hard.
it's scary or risky?
Yeah, because it's easy to stay quiet, to just be like, oh, well, what can I do?
Right.
But history shows us
Yeah.
that speaking up
Yeah.
makes a difference.
And that even small acts
Acts of defiance
can have a big impact.
can make a difference.
So speak truth to power.
Yeah.
Call out hate.
Yeah.
Stand up for people who are being treated unfairly.
And find ways to withdraw support
Yeah.
from those systems
They're
that
doing harm.
are causing harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's through your money, your vote,
How we spend our money.
or just your everyday actions.
Yeah.
Make choices that reflect your values.
It's about making conscious choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
That align with our values.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think
Recognizing that we all have a role to play
yeah.
in this fight.
And making the world a better place.
For freedom.
Yeah.
Against oppression.
And I think most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
never give up hope.
Never give up hope.
Even when it seems
impossible. Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the final part
Okay.
of our deep dive.
Okay.
Where we're going to look at
Right.
how these books,
Yeah.
while they're warnings,
Yeah.
they also offer a vision
Okay.
of what could be,
Okay.
of what's possible.
What a better world
Yeah.
could look like.
Yeah.
Okay, so stay tuned.
So we were talking about what's possible.
Yeah, what a better world could look like.
Yeah, and one thing that really stood out to me
Okay.
was this whole idea of control through technology.
Oh, yeah. It's like both The Handmaid's Tale and 1984
Yeah, they both touch on that
really explore them.
in different ways.
Yeah.
But it's definitely,
And it's so relevant today.
oh, it's so relevant.
Like, it's almost prophetic.
yeah.
Like in Gilead, they literally just
They cut women off
cut women off from
for information and communication.
You can't even talk to each other.
And then in Oceania, you've got the telescreens,
oh, yeah, the telescreens.
which are like everywhere,
always watching.
always listening.
Yeah. It's like
Big Brother.
Big Brother on steroids.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think about, like,
It makes you think
all
about
the technology today.
all the technology we have.
Like social media.
Yeah. Facial recognition.
Facial recognition, all the data collection.
All the data they're collecting on us.
It's like, are we
It's kind of scary.
heading down that path?
It is.
It's a little unnerving.
It's like technology is a tool.
Right.
It can be used for good or bad.
Yeah. It's how we use it.
Yeah, like it can connect us.
Yeah.
It can empower people.
Give a voice to
Give a voice to the voiceless.
people who haven't been heard.
Yeah. But it can also be used to
It can also be used to
But it can also be used to
control us,
spy on us,
sigh on us, and
to silence people.
to silence dissent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think both of these novels are
They're like a warning
really warning us.
to be careful
Yeah.
about how we use technology.
Yeah. And to be aware of
To be aware of the risks.
the risks
Yeah.
because it's easy to just kind of get swept up
Yeah. You just get used to it.
in the convenience of it all.
Yeah. And then before you know it,
And then you're
you've given up all your privacy.
trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that I think is really important
Yeah.
is this idea of rewriting the past,
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
like controlling the narrative.
It's like a classic totalitarian move.
Yeah. It's like straight out of the
Straight out of the playbook.
dictator's playbook.
Yeah. If you control the past,
Yeah.
you control the present.
You control the future.
Yeah.
It's like in 1984,
Ministry of Truth,
they're
No.
just making stuff up,
making stuff up,
erasing things.
changing history
Yeah. It's scary.
to fit their agenda.
Yeah.
And then in The Handmaid's Tale,
They use the Bible.
they're twisting the Bible
They twist it
to fit their
to
narrative.
justify their power.
Yeah, it's like
Just
there's
saying
this is what,
this is the truth. The Bible says,
and you can't question it.
but it's not.
But it's not the whole truth.
It's just their
It's just their interpretation.
interpretation.
Yeah.
And it's scary because
It is.
when you control the narrative,
You control people's mind.
you control how people think.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important
So important
to critical thinkers
to question everything.
to question everything.
Don't just believe what you're told.
and to seek out
Seek out different perspectives.
multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because nobody has a monopoly on truth.
nobody has a monopoly on truth.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the big
It's one of the big takeaways.
takeaways from these books.
Yeah.
Is that
We have to be vigilant.
we have to be vigilant.
We have to be aware
We have to be aware
of how easily
how history can be manipulated
history can be manipulated.
and how language
Language can be used
to control us.
to control us.
Yes. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some of your final thoughts?
Well, I think these books are a wake-up call.
Okay.
They're like a warning sign
Yeah.
that even in a democracy,
Right.
we're not immune
We're not immune to
to authoritarianism.
those tendencies.
Yeah. Because it's easy to
It's easy to fall into those traps.
To think it can't happen here.
Yeah, and to just think.
But it can.
Oh, it could never happen.
It can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
If we're not careful.
These books show us.
They show us.
That can happen.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And that freedom is.
Freedom is precious.
Precious.
And it's fragile.
And fragile.
And we have to fight for it.
We have to fight for it every day.
Every single day.
Yeah, and I think it's also a reminder that
we have the power.
we have the power to
make a difference.
Make a difference.
Yeah.
And
to resist.
And to stand up.
Speak out.
For what we believe in.
Yes.
And to never give up hope. Never give up hope.
Even when things seem dark.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah, because even in these
even in the darkest times.
Dark and oppressive stories, there are these glimmers of
a little spark of hope.
And resistance.
That things can change.
Yeah, and that we can create.
That we can build a better world.
A better world.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
On this deep dive into
these amazing books.
The Handmaid's Tale in 1984.
And hopefully you learned something.
And hopefully
you're feeling
inspired.
Inspired to make a difference.
To make a difference.
Yeah.
And to fight for a better world.
To fight for freedom.
We'll see you next time.